This is going to be my second day at the IDS Dental Fair meeting. Yesterday was crazy. I had the privilege to talk to a lot of colleagues about digital bite analysis, the teeth scan software and how it works and when we should use it. And I did a promise to some of you that I would do a presentation in English. So here goes. It's actually not the first time that I've been to the IDS. I was here a year and a half ago. So when I arrived with the train, it was fairly easy for me just to go down the same road that I took the last time, only to find out that that street now is actually blocked. To make a long story short, I ended up walking 45 minutes, almost all the way around the IDS before I could come in at the back side, and only to find out afterwards that I could actually just have read the signs and have gone those 100 meters that I was supposed to and have gone in fairly quickly. While walking that road of shame, I was not the only one, first of all, but I came to think about all the habits, protocols that we are used to, that we go into not only in our daily life, but also as dentists. And if something works for us in our hands, it seems that that's just a go-to tool and that's what we are dealing with. But if we don't treat each patient individually, we'll end up with less success than if we did. So all this way, walking to the IDS, I just thought about that the T-scan is actually providing you exactly with that, because that technology provides you with not only the time, but also pressure and force at the same time. You'll be able to test how the occlusion is in static position, but also in articulation. Now, the list that you could use it for is long, because at the second that you change anything on the occlusal surface, you're actually changing the bite somewhat. High force on one or more teeth can present itself in different ways, and it's not always a symptom that the patient actually feels right away. If we go into just looking at the tooth itself, we will be able to see that you will sense tenderness, you will feel cold sensation, you might be seeing cracks and decays, you will be experiencing maybe lost fillings, and that could accumulate to access to the nerve, which will cause infection and therefore also root canal treatments. But it's not only the tooth itself that can be affected about the high forces of occlusion. You will also see changes in the bone. You might see changes of the mucosa around the bone. There will be probably some muscle issues. You will be able also to see some jaw issues and the posture as well. Now, I only have 10 minutes, so I will not be able to do a full presentation of everything. So I'm actually just, taking the last presentation I did, which were DTR treatment. That means it's treatment where you try to minimize the time frame for when the patient occludes until they have their canine guidance. So DTR stands for dissolution time reduction, and that's the whole point. And this guy came in for exactly that. Just to go over the patient here, he's a 26-year-old male. He experiences vertigo. He has a floating sensation all the time, and he feels that his bite is off. He has pain at the right side of the body, and especially the neck, that is completely locked in the morning and during the day. He had his symptoms starting during the COVID because for some reasons he got really anxious and was stressed out about this. His own dentist recommended him a splint, but after a short while the symptoms actually escalated, and he felt when he took out the splint that his bite has changed and it was open up in the right side. So far After the splint, the patient visited different colleagues. He even went to India to get his bite balanced, and the treatment so far has helped a bit, but he still is not able to fly because of the floating sensation and the vertigo. So he actually drove all the way from Macedonia, where he lives. Before I saw him, he sent me some photos and some info. This is his teeth, his bite, before the COVID started. And when he came to my office, his teeth looked like that. So the feeling that he has about his bite being open on the right side is probably not completely off. With him, he brought not only one, but a couple of splints that different dentists had made for him. I looked at his bite and saw how that looked, and with that he also sent a CBCT that I could fill in with some lines to see that maybe not only his posture but the whole face was maybe tilted a little bit. All these signs of course tell you that this is going to be a hard case to fit, and the previous dentist that had been visited has been really skilled. So you must be humble to, start this treatment, but we did. And together with the T-scan, in this specific case, when you do the TR, I use the EMGs as well. So this is actually just to showing you how the muscle is working while chewing together. So you will see 6 bumps here. The 2 first ones is where he just closes his mouth normally. The next 2 is where he only occlude on the back teeth. And the last 2 where you only see the green bubbles there is where he's only been chewing on the front. Now, instead of showing all the case material before and then afterwards, the after pictures, I combined everything so you will be able to see what the result is. So this is his bite when we just take one of the 3 bites out and put them all together in a straight line. You will see that his bite starts up at the right side and actually finishes down at the left side. When we compare that to when we did the treatment, you will be able to see that it's now a lot more centered. The balance forces is in the middle, not switching from one side to another, and it's close to the gray cross there in the center. So that's what we're looking for. If we took just the first bite, or the area where he closes 100%, and combine that with the after treatment, you will be able to see that the balance forces is now in the white area, which is more centered, and you will always also appreciate that the bite, the muscles activity, has fallen somewhat. The one that was really high before is now not normal yet, but it has been reduced, so it looks a little bit more like its fellow muscle on the other side. As I told you, it's not only the static forces, the IP that you are measuring, you actually measure the lateral protrusion as well. So in this case, you want to have the lateral protrusion going from the center up to the canine, so that will show you that you have a canine guidance. In this case, where the arrow points, you have a little bit of a wedge there. That means that there's a conflicting interference at the back of the teeth that we need to have a look at. We can see that the time frame is about half a second, which is somewhat acceptable as long as we go normally under half a second to get to canine guidance. We are happy, but as we can see with this line here, the balance force, I think we can do that a little better. So this is the after treatment. You will now be able to see that the line is somewhat more straight up to the canine forces. The time frame has been reduced for more than half, and that is and that must be and we are quite happy with that result. Now on the right side, where the patient has all the symptoms, it looks completely different. You will see that the time frame is really long. It actually is you will see that the time frame is really long. It's more than 2.5 seconds, and in that area where the circle is, the muscles are just firing up trying to get the jaw moving, but it can't. It's just locked, and the arrow shows you the reason why. It's actually the back tooth that is in the way for this movement. So this is not only in the start but in the middle of the movement where we actually have the high force. And as I said, it's about 2.5 seconds that it takes before he reaches the canine guidance. He will reach canine guidance, so that's a good sign. So we might be able to help this guy out. This is the after treatment, where you can see that the balance forces now goes from the center and out to the right side. The muscle activity has fallen, and the time frame is now, instead of 2.5 seconds, is actually 0.3 seconds. Regarding the floating sensation, I actually did a MAT scan on the patient as well. A MAT scan is more or less a plate that works the same way as the T-scan does. You just stand on it on your feet, and it captures your pressure points on the feet and the movement if you have any. So this is actually before treatment, and this is right after. I didn't even have to say to him that it looks great. He could actually feel it the second that he opened his eyes again, saying that this floating sensation that he had was actually gone. I hope I will see many of you today at the dental fair, and if not, you are able to be there, then just write me a message and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you've got. Be safe and have fun.